I'm a wildlife photographer. It's a career built on patience, stillness, and ability to become just another silent, uninteresting part of landscape. I've spent weeks at a time utterly alone in the vast, remote corners of national forests. My only companions were the whispers of the wind and patient clicking of my camera shutter. I waited 14 hours in a cramped, blind, motionless spot just for a 3-second glimpse of a reclusive pine marten. That's how I thrive on that solitude and how I love the deep and profound quiet of the wild. I always thought it's where I feel most myself. At least it used to be. Now, the silence is the most terrifying thing I know, because it's never truly silent, and the solitude is a lie because I'm never, ever truly alone. This all started 3 months ago. I was on a long term project in a massive, sparsely populated national forest. It is a primal sort of place, full of ancient Douglas firs that tower like cathedral spirals, their tops lost in the perpetual mist. My goal was to capture a portfolio of the elusive cascade red fox, a beautiful but notoriously shy creature. For the first few weeks, it was a business as usual. I would rise before dawn, hike miles into the back country, and set up waiting for the forest to offer up its secrets. One evening, I got the shot I'd been dreaming of, a magnificent male fox. The color of its coat was a dying fire, paws in a sun dappled clearing, its head cocked, listening. The light was perfect, the composition was something else. I rattled off a dozen frames, my heart soaring with that pure electric thrill that only photographers know. Back at my base camp that night, I eagerly loaded the photos onto my laptop. I scrolled through, and there it was, the money shot. The fox was perfectly in focus, its eyes were sharp and intelligent. The background was a beautiful, soft bouquet of green and gold. It was perfect, except for a smudge. In the upper right hand corner of the frame, there was a strange vertical blur of white light. It was out of focus, just an artifact, but it was annoying. It looked like a lens flare, but the sun was behind me. It made no sense. I checked the other frames. It was there too, in the exact same spot, in every single one, a persistent, ghostly slash against the otherwise perfect image. I sighed, chalking up to some weird internal reflection in my lens, and made a mental note to clean all my gear thoroughly. A week later, I was photographing a herd of elk by a river at dawn. Again, a perfect morning. The mist was rising off the water. The great animals were silhouetted against the nascent light. It was a primordial, beautiful scene. I took hundreds of photos, and when I reviewed them later, the smudge was there. Different location, different time of day, different lens, but the same vertical out of focus slash of white light, always in the upper periphery of the frame. Now I was more than annoyed, I was obsessed. I thought to myself that it was a consistent technical problem. Something I need to solve? Was it a scratch on my camera sensor? A flaw in the shutter mechanism? I spent 2 full days troubleshooting, running diagnostics, taking test shots of blank surfaces. I found nothing. My gear was, by all accounts, in a perfect working condition. The only way to solve it was to recreate the conditions. I went back to the clearing where I photographed the fox. I set up my camera on a tripod in the exact same spot at the exact same time of the day. I framed the shot identically, and then I waited. My goal was to see the flare appear through the viewfinder before I took the picture. I sat there for hours, still as a stone, my eye pressed to the camera. The sun dappled the clearing, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. The forest was quiet, but as the afternoon wore on, a new feeling began to creep in. A low-grade prime hum of anxiety. It was the feeling of being watched. It's a sensation every creature in the wild knows, a prickling at the back of your neck, a sudden cold awareness that you are no longer alone, just an observer, but also being observed. I slowly, carefully scanned the tree line, my eyes searching for the glint of an eye, twitch of an ear. I saw nothing. But the feeling grew stronger. It was coming from my side, from the very edge of my vision. I kept my head perfectly still, my breathing slow and even. But my eyes darted to the right. I saw it, just for a fraction of a second. It was a tall, wavering shape, like a column of heat haze. It was the shape of a man, long and thin. It was hanging upside down from a thick, high branch of a fire tree, its form distinct and shimmering. The moment my brain registered the impossible image, I snapped my head to look directly at it, and there was nothing there. Just tree branch, empty against the sky. The forest was still. The feeling of being watched was gone. I sat there, my heart hammering against my ribs, my mouth dry. I told myself I was overtired, that the solitude was getting to me. I was hallucinating. I was seeing things. It was a trick of the light, a figment of the sleep deprived imagination. I packed up my gear, unnerved, and hiked back to my truck. I needed a break. I needed to see the other people. I needed society, social gatherings. I drove to the nearest ranger station, a rustic little cabin that served as the park's administrative hub. There were two rangers on duty, an older, grizzled man with a kind, weary face, and a younger woman. I made some talk with the guy, bought a new map I didn't need, then tried to sound casual. I asked my question. This is going to sound weird, I started. But have you guys ever seen strange things in deep in the woods, like the tricks of the lights? The older ranger looked up from his paperwork. He and the younger ranger exchanged a look. It was a brief, knowing glance, but it was enough. What kind of tricks of lights are you talking? He asked, his voice low, calm, rumble. I felt like an idiot, but I pressed on. Like a shape, a tall, shimmering shape of a man hanging upside down from a tree. You only see it out of the corner of the eye. The younger ranger's friendly expression tightened. The older just sighed a long, tired sound and leaned back in his chair. Oh boy. The upside down man, he said, and it wasn't a question. Yeah, we have seen him. Most of the folks who spend enough time out here have. A wave of cold relief immediately followed by a wave of colder dread washed over me. I wasn't crazy, but that meant the thing was real? Really? What is it? I asked, my voice barely a whisper, but wavering. Don't know, he said, shaking his head. Don't want to know. It's just a feature of the landscape, I guess. A weird local phenomenon, like a magnetic anomaly or a patch of strange fog. But what does it do? Nothing, he said, leaning forward and fixing me with a serious parental gaze. It does absolutely nothing, as long as you do nothing, too. That's the one and only rule, son. You see him in the corner of your eye? You keep looking straight ahead. You feel him watching you. You pretend you don't. You do not acknowledge him. You do not engage with him. And you sure as hell don't go looking for him. He's a thing you're only supposed to see by accident. You start making it on purpose, and that's when you get in trouble. Trouble? I asked. What kind of trouble? We don't know. The younger ranger chimed in, her voice tense. No one's ever been stupid enough to find out. It's just a common knowledge, a professional courtesy among those of us who work out here. You leave him alone, and he leaves you alone. I left the ranger station with my mind reeling. Their warning was stark and absolute, but they had also given me something else, a validation, a name, the upside down man. And the smudge in my photos, it was a vertical shape of a light, a shape like a man hanging. It was him. My camera could see him even when I couldn't. And that's where I made my mistake. My fatal, arrogant, stupid mistake. I'm a photographer. My entire life, my entire purpose is to see things and to capture them. To be told that there was something out there, a real observable phenomenon that I was supposed to ignore, it was a anathema to me. It was like saying don't press the red button. It was irresistible challenge, and the ranger's warning was just a dare. I went back into the woods, but this time I was hunting for him. My entire mythology changed. I found spots and waited not for an animal to appear, but for the familiar prickling sensation on my skin. The moment I felt it, I wouldn't move my head. I kept my eyes locked forward, but I raised my camera, aiming the lens not at what I was looking at, but at the periphery of my eye. at the space where I felt he was, and I shoot. The first photos were chilling. The vertical smudge just grew. It was a brilliant, searing slash of overexposed white light, sharp and defined. It looked like a wound in the fabric of the photograph, a tear through the which a sterile, featureless light was pouring. And with every photo I took, the slash grew wider, brighter, and more aggressive. It was like I was annoying it. It was screaming back at me through my own camera. I became possessed by it. I stopped eating properly. I barely slept. I was fueled by a maniac, obsessive energy. I filled memory card after memory card with these impossible images. The creature was always there, just at the edge of my sight, a shimmering, wavering promise. And I kept shooting, trying to get a clear image, trying to resolve the blinding white light into a discriminable form. Then my camera died. I was in a deep, mossy canyon. The feeling of being watched was a palpable, heavy pressure on my right side. I raised my camera, aimed into the periphery, and pressed the shutter. The resulting image on the small LCD screen was pure blinding white, a completely blank frame. I tried again. White. I aimed at my own feet. White. He had broken it, or more accurately, he had filled it. My camera could now only see the blinding, featureless light of his presence. It was useless. Any sane person would have stopped then. They would have taken the ranger's warning to heart and gotten the hell out of there. But I wasn't sane anymore. My obsession had burned through my reasons. The loss of my camera just felt like a challenge, and now I would have to use my own eyes. I continued to hunt. I would walk through the woods until I felt a familiar presence, then I would stop and I would try to see him. I would keep my head pointed forward, but I strained my eyes to the side, trying to resolve the shimmering, wavering shape in my peripheral vision. I tried to hold it, to focus on it, to force it into clarity. And that's when the smudge moved from my photos to my own vision. It started as a small, barely noticeable floater in the corner of my right eye. A tiny translucent blur. I assumed it was an eye strain, but it didn't go away, and every time I went on one of my hunts, every time I tried to force my eyes to see the creature directly, the smudge would get a little bit bigger, a bit more opaque. It was turning from a translucent blur into a patch of milky white fog. I was in the woods, trying to focus on the shimmering shape hanging from a distant branch, and as I strained, I saw the white fog in my own eye physically expand, spreading like a drop of milk in water. And I finally understood, with clarity so profound and so terrifying it felt like a physical blow. I understood what was happening. It was that he couldn't be seen directly. His very nature was to exist at the edge of perception, and be trying to force him into center, be trying to capture him, first with my camera and then with my own eyes. I was violating the fundamental rule of his existence, and he was fighting back. He was erasing the part of my vision that I was using to see him. He was a blind spot, a living predatory blind spot, and he was growing, feeding on my sight. The panic that hit me was unlike anything I have ever known. It was the terror of a man realizing the weapon he has been firing is powered by his own blood. I was deep in remote wilderness and I was going blind. I ran. It was a clumsy, stumbling, panic flight. I tripped over roots I couldn't see properly, crashed through branches that seemed to come out of nowhere. The white fog in the corner of my eye seemed to pulse and swirl with every frantic beat of my heart. I finally made it back to my own truck, my body bruised and scratched, my mind screaming wreck. I drove out of the forest, and I have not been back. That was a month ago. The white patch in my eye vision hasn't gone away. I've seen three different ophthalmologists and neurologists. They have run every test imaginable. My eyes, they tell me, are perfectly healthy. There's absolutely nothing physically wrong with them. They think I'm having a complex psychological episode brought on by stress and solitude. I know it wouldn't be that easy. I thought the connection was through the photos. I thought they were anchors. So last week I built a bonfire backyard. I took every memory card, every hard drive, every single print I had made of the white slashes and burned them. I watched until they were nothing but a pile of melted plastic and grey ash. I felt a sense of relief, exorcism, if I may say. It didn't work. He's just not in the forest anymore. He followed me home. He's here with me now as I type this. Not in the room, not in the house. He's in the corner of my eye. I'll be sitting here on my couch. I'll get that old familiar prickling sensation. And I know if I let my focus soften, I can see him, a tall, wavering upside down shape shimmering at the very edge of my vision. Sometimes he's in the corner of the room. Sometimes when I'm outside, he's hanging from a telephone pole. He's always there, a silent, constant companion. The Rangers were right. The only rule is to ignore him. And now, that is my life. I live in a state of constant, vigilant denial. I can never turn my head too quickly. I can never let my eyes wander. I have to consciously, actively not see the thing that is always there, because I know that if I try to look at him, if I give in the primal urge to face the thing that is watching me, the white fog in my eye will grow, and there's not much of my vision left to lose. So, this is my warning. If you ever find yourself in the deep, quiet places of the world, and you feel a prickling at the back of your neck, and you see something impossible just at the edge of your sight, for the love of God, pretend you don't see it. Look away. Keep looking straight ahead. Don't try to look at it. Some things aren't meant to be seen, and they will take everything from you. Make sure you can't do it again. So be prepared to not give in to your urges. This story was brought to you by Gamal Frank. He's an amazing writer, and we have worked with him on multiple occasions. Make sure you go follow him. I will link his page below and also link the main story below. Also, this week's shoutouts goes to Vilo the Schizo, a good old friend of mine. He has been doing horror content, gaming content, and now wrestling content. Make sure you go follow him. I will link his page below. And also remember, I stream on Twitch from day to day. And also we post some clips, some horror narrations, also on TikTok, and some news and upcoming news on Twitter. So make sure you go follow me on all of my socials and also Instagram. And one more thing, make sure you join our community through the link below. We have a Discord community. It's for people to enjoy horror content and gaming. And make sure you accept the rules and the rules. And as always, take care of yourself, stay healthy. Make sure you eat well, get some water, get some rest, and take care of your loved ones. And if you don't, the upside down man will come for you.